Hi everyone, this is Ms. Gleason here. We are going to be talking about still lifes and using emphasis to make our still lifes pop. And how we're going to do that is by using a combination of line and color to enhance the emphasis of our subject. So emphasis is where one thing really stands out in a picture. And the emphasis, what we're working on today, is going to be our bowl of fruit. So I know some of you have done still lifes before. Follow along with me. Let me walk you through it. I'm going to show you how to do everything step by step. What you're going to need first is a white sheet of paper and a pencil. Make sure your paper is horizontal, not vertical. You want it horizontal. Most still lifes are done horizontally. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to define our horizon line and we're going to draw our bowl. So our bowl of fruit is going to be right here in the middle. And let's just draw a bowl. So we're just drawing a curved line that comes down not to the very bottom of the page, but a curved line that comes down just like that. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can sketch it out first if you feel more comfortable. And then you're going to create, it's not going to be perfectly straight. It's going to curve down just a little bit and curve back up at the ends, a line for the top of the bowl. But you don't want it to be really wavy either, or a deep curve. It's almost straight. It just, you see how it curves up just a little bit on the edges? That's all you need. Now our horizon line, which is where the table would end, if I did it here, it would look like the bowl was on the very edge of the table, and we don't want that. So you're going to make the horizon line behind the bowl. So I'm going to draw a straight line behind the bowl on that side, follow the line across. I'm going to continue that line out on this side. If it's not lined up perfectly, that's okay. But try and make it so that they're close to the same area. I mean, you don't want one horizon line here and one up here. That would definitely not look right. All right. Then we're going to draw our apples. We're only going to do a few apples. We're just doing apples this time. We're going to make it simple on ourselves. So for an apple, I'm going to draw a curve like this. Sorry, I keep knocking my thing that's holding my phone to record it, and it keeps wobbling on me. So I'm going to make a curved line there. Maybe I do another almost circle, because apples are circular. Almost full circle on this side, like that, like a little bit more of a curve. Then put a curved line here. It looks almost like a bowl of ice cream, doesn't it? We can add maybe a little curve down there. And then if you want to do one that's sitting a little bit higher up, maybe behind the other apples so it's not so ice creamy, add a curve here. Now to make it look like apples, we need to add a stem and a little alcove area for the stem. And they don't all need to be facing the same way. So I'm going to make a curve like this. And out of that curve, I'm going to draw a tiny little rectangle for the stem. Do you see how all of a sudden I went from ice cream to an apple? All you have to do is draw a curved line and a little skinny rectangle. I'm going to do the same thing here. Maybe I'll face it the other direction, because if you dump apples into a bowl of fruit, are they all going to face the same direction? Probably not. So I'm just going to start making these curved lines with little rectangles, kind of facing different directions. Let's put this one here maybe. And maybe we don't see that last one. Maybe that stem's facing the other direction, but we know it's there. All right, so that's our bowl of fruit and that's our apples. Now for our background, we're going to do something very different. We're going to talk about pattern and line. And so we're going to divide our background up from that top apple to the corner, to the top of the page. I drew a line. Maybe I will draw another line from that apple. Maybe a line from that line down. What I'm doing is I'm dividing my background into spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces is probably good. You don't need a ton of spaces. It can be fairly big, but you want to have spaces on your background. Then in each space, we're going to do a different pattern. You do not have to use the same line patterns I do. You are welcome to use the same line patterns I do, but you do not have to. If you are really good at drawing certain line patterns and you want to draw those, that's fine. All right. So for the first one, let's keep it simple. Let's just do a zigzag line. It's going to go from one edge to the next, all the way down. Now to complicate mine and make it stand out a little bit more, I'm going to add a triangle into each zigzag, like this, to make it a little bit more interesting. And again, if I'm going too fast, just pause the video, then you can get caught up and we can continue. Each space is going to be a different pattern. So let's say that's a zigzag line. Let's do fish tails or mermaid tails or whatever you want to call the scales or mermaid tails or whatever this is. On this side, it goes with lots of different names. And I'm just going to, it comes up in the middle, goes over that section, goes to the middle of the last one, and back. So I'm doing more pattern lines. They're not just straight line, wavy line. I will do some of those. We did a zigzag line already. This isn't one of the basic lines though. This is a little bit more complicated. If this is too hard, do polka dots instead or something similar. Add a simpler pattern. And you're just going to do this until you run out of space in that space. Space in that space, yep. Like that. There we go. So now I've got two of my patterns done. I don't want to do any like super busy patterns like this really close to my apples. So the patterns that are closer to the apples need to be a little bit more simple. So maybe in this one, I just do straight lines. I don't want my apples to get lost in the patterns. So this one, I'm just going to do two skinnier straight lines separated by a space. Let's do swirly lines right here. So the spiral, it's one of my favorite things to draw when it comes to patterns and lines. I really like drawing the spirals. I'm going to do them in different directions. I'm going to do more than one. So that spiral line would come back and around and back up and back down. So that's a bigger one. Then underneath here, let's do another one this right here in the middle. And I spiral it around until it hits that spiral. And then I would come around as if I was still going, but I'm not going to draw over that spiral, and come back up and around and back down. And let's do one more so I fill up that space. There we go. Do you see how it looks like my spirals are overlapping now? Then we can do another one up here. And let's do one here. And I start off a spiral. Again, it's not going to get very big. Where it hits one of the other spirals, I stop and continue it when I get back to open space. And then I'm going to continue that there. And I might have room for one more spiral over here. So let's do this one. It's going to look like it's running off the edge there. And again, I just connect it like that. Again, if that is very complicated for you, just do simple spirals, or you could do one big spiral if doing multiple layered spirals was too hard. But spirals, to make them look layered, you just stop when you hit the first spiral and then continue going when you get to the next open space. And then we have our last section here. And let's see, we've done zigzag, we've done straight, we've done spiral, we've done these scales here. Let's do, I'm going to do a brick pattern. So I'm going to draw a straight line. I'm going to draw straight lines across like this. And then on the bottom, I'm going to start by defining where my bricks would be. So that would be a brick. On the next line, the line would go in the middle of those two, and in the middle of that one. And then I would come back up. And do you see how my lines don't line up? You want them in the middle of the previous brick. Like that. And there we have it. We have done our whole pattern. And so now all we're going to do is, oh, let's do one more for the table, because really we want the table, the bowl of fruit is going to be our emphasis. That's what we really want to stand out. So we're going to do one more pattern on the table. I'm going to make a tiny little dot right there where the horizon line would go through my bowl. And I'm pretending to draw from that line. I'm going to draw a line out, but I'm only going to draw the line on the outside of the bowl. So from that line out like this. And I've kept mine fairly simple and spaced out. You could do yours a lot closer together if you want. You could make more than one line. I'm just adding a little bit of pattern to the table. And there we go. Now, to make our bowl the emphasis of our picture, because there's a lot going on, right? To make our bowl the emphasis of the picture, you're going to color it. Color is a great way to create emphasis in one thing or another. So I'm going to get, I think I want my bowl to be a light blue. Your bowl can be any color. It does not have to be blue. Again, any color bowl. I wouldn't do a black bowl because we're going to use black on our patterns. But any other color is fine. Again, I would try and keep it separate from the apples. The apples are going to be red, yellow, and green. So I'm going to get my yellows and my reds out, and maybe a little bit of orange. All right, so I've got red, yellow, I picked up an orange and some green and a blue for my bowl. And I'm going to start off by outlining my bowl and then shading it in. I'm going to shade it very lightly first. You don't want to start off by coloring very dark. So I'm going to shade it very lightly. And while you're shading, I want you to be thinking about where your light source is going to come. If we're going to make our apples look realistic, then they need to have a light source. So I'm going to pretend that this right here is where my light's coming from. So if my light is coming from there, is the shadow going to be on this side of my bowl or this side of my bowl? What do you think, Evie? Is the shadow going to be on this side or this side if the light's over on this side? That side. Good job. Yes, ma'am. The shadow is going to be on this side of the bowl. So I'm going to take my blue and I'm just going to color a little bit darker on this side of the bowl to create that shadow. So, yeah, you're a great help. Thank you. So I'm going to color just a little bit darker. I'm not creating a line down the middle. You don't want it to be light and then like solid dark. It's really dark over here. And as I color this way, I'm pressing down lighter and lighter to where it blends in and is not a solid line down the middle of my bowl. Do you see that? So there we have the highlight and the shadow from our bowl. Now, if the light's coming from here, that means the highlight on my apples is going to be on the same side, and the shadow on my apples are going to be on the same side. Some of my apples are going to be green. So if I do this top one green, I'm going to outline it all in green first. This side away from the light is going to be a really dark green. And so I'm pressing down harder there. And as I get to the lighter side of the apple, I don't press down as hard. You can even add a little bit of yellow to the lighter side of the apple to make it look like a light reflection. And there you go. There's your first apple. I'm going to do a nice big red apple right here. And some apples are different colors. They're a combination of red and yellow or green and yellow. And you're welcome to try and experiment with how you combine your colors. So again, I'm going to do a nice big red apple. So I'm going to color the whole thing red, lightly of course. Then on this side where the shadow would be, I'm going to, and my shadow is not a straight line. The apples are rounded, so my shadow is curved too. So I have to curve that shadow up and around my apple like that. And then again, I'm going to use this warm yellow and add a little bit of yellow to the highlighted part of my apple, just to make it pop and make it look a little bit warmer, like a warm light is touching it, and make it look more like an apple. All right, then this one, let's do this middle one more yellow. So I'm going to color it all yellow. And then because yellow doesn't shade very well in the bottom, like to add shadow, I'm going to add a little bit of a darker orange. Hold on, Evie. And a little bit of a red to that shadow. Just around this bottom corner of the apple. Very pretty. You can do it a little bit around the stem too, where it comes out. And we will need a brown at some point to color in the stem. All right, and then let's do another green and yellow apple here. So again, I'm going to color it green. Taking my time, coloring it a solid color, and then I'm going to add some yellow in the highlights. And then I'll use a little bit of red down here on the bottom of the apple, just to add a little bit of shadow to it. You don't usually see an apple that is all green and red and yellow. And then I'm going to use the green again to darken that, because the red is going to make the green look darker. And then my last one, let's do another red apple, and you can color this whole thing red. So can y'all see that? There we have it. So do you see how our bowl and our apples really stand out against the background? Now, what you can do is you can use a black crayon or a black pen or a black Sharpie, black marker, and you're going to trace your outline. Can I have a black marker, please, sweetie? Thank you. So I'm just going to use, I borrowed one of Evie's. I'm just going to use her black marker. I'm going to trace my outline. Now, be careful when you trace. Take your time. Trace it neatly. Some of the lines are so close together. If you want to color it in a solid black, that's fine. All right, and then I'm going to trace my dividing lines first. I might make my dividing lines a little bit thicker than the pattern lines so that they stand out. So I'm using the side of my marker to draw a thicker line. And then I would trace my patterns. And so I would use the tip of the marker then, not pressing down hard. All right, so there I've traced everything. Do you see how the bowl stands out because it's so colored? If it looks unfinished, oh wait, the one thing we didn't do is color our stems. You do need to get a brown and color each stem of your apple like that. Okay, now if it still looks unfinished to you and you feel like you really need to outline the bowl and the apple, you can. Don't go crazy with your outlines though. You want the bowl and the apple to really be the focal point of this picture. The patterns in the background are just creating the emphasis. They're going to draw the attention to the bowl. So, and we created the emphasis of the bowl. I am going to outline mine really quick, at least the bowl. We created the emphasis of the bowl by adding color to it and by creating these directional lines, which are these lines, these diagonal lines that are leading to the bowl. All these directional lines help add emphasis to the bowl as well. So the bowl and the fruit are what this picture is all about. Now, I like everything to be outlined and nice and neat. You do not have to outline your fruit though. If you like it just the way it is without outlining it, by all means, leave it the way it is. There we go. There's my bowl of fruit.